Please give a warm welcome to Gaucho, Marianna Brennand. Welcome, Marianna. Yeah, oh, your seat is, yeah, of course, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, what a powerful film. And I actually noticed you do something really, really powerful in this film. You use nature and her environment to help you tell the story. For example, I noticed that at the beginning, it's high tide. And then when the abuse starts, it's lower tide, and then we start seeing the roots in the ground, et cetera. You know, tell us about, I mean, that work that you've done her whole environment helps you to tell her story.
Exactly. Wow. Thank you for this question and for feeling and noticing that. It was this whole film was thought of and constructed to show the violence, not graphically, with an intention to make you feel the violence and really be able to immerse yourself and feel as this girl is going through those horrible violences. And so, I mean, everything that I could use symbolically and to construct their environment and that atmosphere, and the tide was one of them. I mean, when the film begins, as you said, the tide is high, and she's innocent and full of life and playing with her sister, and as the violences start to happen with her, you see the tide going low, as if it's representing, you know, the shattering of her soul and of her existence. And then at the end, when she runs away from home, trying, you know, foreseeing a better future, you see the branches of the trees and everything just like distorted.
Correct.
As if to show how she's feeling inside. So yes.
You also, and your cinematographer, made the choice that we only see what she sees, only her point of view. And also, you know, tell us about the handheld and the long takes. My interpretation is that you want us to immerse ourselves in her world.
Absolutely. That's what I really expected, was that to convey to the audience the feeling of really living inside of this girl. I mean, it's such a harsh story and journey that these girls go through, and what I really wanted was maybe to that the spectator would come out afterwards transformed by this film. And I thought the only way possible of doing that is if you're able to live inside of this girl. So she's absolute protagonist. She's in every scene, and you see everything through her eyes, and you feel with her. So there was a choice when we were developing the script, and the whole writing of the film and of the scenes were directed towards that. And while shooting, I wanted also you to be able to breathe with her. So we have the camera in a respectful distance, but also like very close to her and following these characters. And I was working with non-actors. Jamili had never acted before, which is really amazing. It's her first experience. And I wanted the interactions and the scenes to be really truthful and natural. So the long takes really is just allowing them, you know, to live the scenes and experience what's happening. And we are just like as a ballet, just like following them. But that there's this contrast between the shots that I really thought of, and you know the scenes at the night, like every time that, you know, what happens at night when she goes to bed with her father. Those were very like established, thought of in that space of the room and of the bed, and how the different bodies were in relationships to each other, like who sees it, who doesn't, what happens to this girl at night while no one is seeing it. And
Tell us about the soundscape. You don't use music, and tell us about the choice of not using music. And then the soundscape is insects. We hear the jungle. And yeah.
The whole construction of the sound was also intentionally to immerse the spectator in the film and in Marciali's world. And the decision of not using like a traditional score was because I could never hear music while I was writing this film. I mean, I could never, just throughout the 8 years we wrote the script, I could never hear music. How can you put music while, those violences are going through? So the music that happens in the film is the diegetic film, the music that is happening, in real life. But we were open to it during the editing. I talked to my editor a lot about it, and and I didn't want to influence the spectator to feel anything just by, moving them with, but also the construction of the sound.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, interrupted. Because there's a journey. It starts very realistic, but then it goes to the subjective. Like we're hearing sounds in her head.
Absolutely, that's exactly what we did. I mean, with the example you said of the tide, with the sound, we start very realistic in the beginning of the film, even in the black, while you see the beginning credits, to immerse the viewer in the world that she lives, in the environment. You hear, the animals, you hear the water, you hear the wind, the crackling of the wood. And then as the violences start to happen to her, the sound starts to become more personal, more psychological, and you start to hear things through her perspective. So yes, that's...
And on the same line of thought, the colors, we have this like deep browns and rich greens. Tell us about the colors.
Yeah, the colors are really truthful to my research and to what I encountered there in Marajó Island, going so many times, and I wanted it to portray it as well as very realistic and authentic. I didn't want you to have like a romanticized or exoticized vision of the Amazon, which is, more common when you see. I mean, the forest is really beautiful and lush, but then at the same time, what I experienced there when I went during research was the contrast between this beautiful forest and the river that, brings you food, but at the same time, entraps this girl and doesn't allow her, to just run away, run out of her house and ask for help. So I really wanted to show this contrast of the nature also being, sometimes an antagonist to this girl.
You do not objectify her at all. You don't show her in any way sexual or attractive. Tell us about that restraint.
Yeah, that was I could say, one of the main principles of bringing this story together. When I started to make this film, the greatest challenge, and that's why it became a fiction, was not a documentary, because my first impulse as a documentarist was, when I heard the stories of sexual exploitation, was I will make a documentary to denounce and shed light. And when I started to think how make this film, I understood that I could never put women and girls in front of the cameras and expose them and ask them to recount violent experiences they had gone through, because they would relive the trauma. So a founding principle of this film was how to tell such a violent story without showing violence explicitly and without imposing more violence in the process. So the greatest challenge was that, like, it's not that I took out in the editing room a scene that showed the abuse happening. We never shot, like the use of the ellipses and the sound work was really to make you feel the violence happening and not seeing it. And for me, this was very important, and as a women filmmaker, to be able to tell a story about the feminine and about women and girls all over the world, and be able to do this with respect and ethics, and from a female perspective, not sexualizing that body. You know, I was working with a 13-year-old girl, and there's no excuse for sexual violence. So, you know, I had to protect the portrayal of that girl and of that body. So for me, it was very important politically, like every choice that was made in this film on how to show and what not to show was it had a purpose.
Did she? Thank you. Yeah. Did she know Jamil? She's phenomenal, by the way. Incredible work the two of you did. Did she know? Did she read the script? Did she understand what was happening?
She never read the script, and that was also a decision to protect the young cast. Since writing the film, I knew I wanted to work with a 13-year-old girl. I didn't want like an 18-year-old who looked younger. I wanted to work with a 13-year-old girl, an 11-year-old girl, Carol, her sister. And I wanted to work with non-actors, and talking about that principle of not bringing violence, like how can I work with this young cast, preserving their psychological and mental health. For me, that was the utmost importance. And one of the decisions that we made was to not show the script. They never read the script. We talked to the parents of the girls and all the children in the film. We talked about what the film was about. Jamili knew she was portraying a girl that was sexually exploited and abused at home by her father. She knew the context, but I didn't rehearse the scenes, like telling her exactly what was going to happen, so that I could protect her, navigate those. I didn't want her to feel and to have to live through those, such enormous violence. I didn't want to traumatize my actor, and I don't think you have to do that in order to have a performance like she did. So we had a 2-month preparation, especially like also physical preparation, because it's really amazing when you see her. But Jamili was not a girl from a riverside community. She was a girl from urban community in Belém. So she had never really just like jumped in the river or like drove a little boat. So she had to learn how to paddle and, how to go to take acai from the forest, how to get into the forest. So there was like a month of really physical preparation for her to get into the character. And we also worked, we tried to shoot, which complicated a lot if you think that we were shooting according to the tide, respecting the scene, the psychological narrative of the scenes. And we also try to shoot as much chronologically as possible to help Jamili navigate the emotions throughout the film. But for example, there's something really nice that happened. It's that showed me that it worked, what we did. The scene in the forest when the first abuse happens, I never told her, this is the scene when Marcílio, your father, is gonna abuse you. And when she saw the film in post-production, it was the first time that she saw the film. She was very touched, and she came up to me and she was like, "Oh, Mari, so that's the scene when he abuses her, the hunting scene." So she only understood what was happening after she saw the film. Yeah, and she's like gradually, she's 16 now, and she's blossoming to this really amazing
Is she
adolescent.
continuing acting?
Yes, yes, she's doing acting courses. She's taking English classes in Brazil, and I mean, she's an actress. It was such an opportunity to,
Yeah.
to encounter her and to have this experience with her.
I love, you mentioned that you use ellipsis and you use silence as well. But there's one person that remains silent that is horrifying, and it's the mother, Danielle. Yeah. It's such a, I mean, she says so much without not saying anything. Tell us about including, and we get from her understanding that this is a cycle of violence, that this has been going on for generations.
Absolutely. I mean, the work Fátima Macedo does is really unbelievable, just the restraint and, showing everything through her eyes and through her body expression and not being able to speak. I mean, the silence is like a theme in the film, and the silence is a taboo. It's what perpetrates the violence, what allows the violence to keep happening. And I think, as you said, the character of the mother, she represents the cycle of abuse. Like, you start the film, you really want to shake that woman and say, "You're not seen. I mean, what's going on with you? Say something, right?" Yeah. And then when the film progresses and you have the hospital scene, you understand that she lived that. She's the symbol. She represents the cycle of abuse through generations in her family, and how that keeps going on and on and on and on.
And you made characters like Danielle. You did extensive research for the film. You made characters like Danielle in your research?
Yes.
Sadly?
Yes, yes. And Manas is everything that happens in the film is based on a story that was told to us. And I spent 8 years going back and forth to Marajó Island and writing many treatments and off the script. Because I wanted to show really the complexity of this reality, and in that region, for example, I encountered a lot of women who thinks that's the only way possible of living. Their mother went through abuse, their sister, their aunt, their grandmother, so they think that, it's the only way possible, and it's almost as if it's naturalized or normalized. Yeah.
Incredible to think that something like this it's normalized. It's not normal. You have two really pivotal female roles besides Danielle, that, the ID lady, not the ID, where she goes to show her birth certificate to get an ID, and then the police woman that comes to the house, and you see in them the complexity of the subject, that they're torn. Tell us about including...
Yeah, the character of Areta, police officer Areta, played by Dira Paz, our amazing Brazilian.
Well-known actress.
Yes. She represents, the lack of state in that region, and also I think the humanity of the people living there who will help and try to protect these girls with their lives. And it's based in two persons that were pivotal for the making of this film. Sister Maria Henriqueta and Officer Rodrigo. They are two people in Brazil, like real heroes, who work in the region, in the Amazon region, protecting women and girls against sexual violence. So they received me in Marajó. They opened the doors to me, and they introduced me to, social assistants and workers and psychologists and other officers that worked in the supporting system, trying to help these women and children there. And the scene when they do the raid in the boat,
yes,
in the barge, It's inspired by a real one that Delegado Rodrigo did, which was the first time the police tried to do something to stop sexual exploitation in the barges at the Tajapuru River. So the character of Dita is really important, and it shows the complexities and the fragilities of the system and of our society. I mean, gender violence and violence against women and girls, I mean, is a structural problem, and it doesn't happen only in Brazil, which why I think this film is so important in connecting to so many people.
Yes.
I mean, it happens everywhere. It happens around us, and that's
Yeah.
really, really sad.
And then the character of the storekeeper, that she's part of the
Jessie.
Jessie. She's
Jessie.
it's yeah. One scene she's a villain, and the other is she trying to be nice to this gals.
Yeah.
You know, tell us about that character.
Yeah, and she's trying to you know, in a way, comfort these girls, which is like really the one of the saddest things about this story, I think, is that this girl is suffering violence at home, and she's thinking that she's going to be free and have a better life just by, you know, just going herself to another kind of violence, which is being sexually exploited in the barges, which is exactly what Jessie tells her, you know. I know it happens to every girl, you know, but just wait a little bit. Maybe you know, you find a man on the barges like your sister did. And really, in that region, I encountered many girls who had, you know, that idea of maybe the Prince Charming in that barge that will, you know, take her to the south of Brazil and give them a better life, which of course we know it never happens.
You use professional actors, and you mix them with the non-professionals. Tell us about working with that dynamic.
Yeah, it was amazing. We the professional cast of actors are made of experienced Brazilian actors from all over Brazil, and they helped us a lot with the young cast. And we were lucky enough to have, as I said, I think almost 2 months of preparation of them, you know, just, you know, having an interaction and this experience of love and caring as a family and as a community. So by the time we shot the film, everyone was really at ease and comfortable with each other, and they helped a lot with the young cast. They developed such a beautiful bond and relationship, and it was really beautiful to see, and it was amazing. I mean, for me, I worked with actors that I admired for a long time, and you know, such amazing forces of nature.
So you set out to make, you thought at first when you were doing the research that you were going to make a documentary, and then realized that no, it was going to be too painful to the victims to basically relive this. But then you shifted to the feature, and you use a lot of documentary techniques. And you know, tell us about that transition, that evolution in your filmmaking, using your research, the documentary techniques into Manas.
Yeah, I was obsessive during the research. I think the documentary part of me really wanted to portray this story as authentic as possible. And as a filmmaker and as a film lover, the films that really inspired me were films that had that reality, really, like films that you can almost like feel the smell of the scene.
Like the Dardenne brothers who executive produce your film.
Exactly, like the Dardenne brothers with that humanistic approach. And I mean, like Pichotti by Hector Babenco, which really influenced me. Like Christiane F., 13 years old, drugged and prostituted by Uli, the German director, which I watched when I was 13, and really I thought the girl portraying the film was the really Christiane. So much I believed in her And like Central Station, I mean, so many films that Central Station by Walter Salles.
Salles, who also executive produced your film.
Executive produced the film, Manas.
You only get executive producers that have influenced you.
I was lucky enough. I mean, Walter Salles, we have this beautiful connection. He wrote my recommendation letter to UCSB when I came to school. Isn't it amazing? Just a little before he released Central Station. So like to be able to premiere Manas in Venice while he was premiering I'm Still Here. This is just so full circle and beautiful. So we have this connection throughout all these years. And the Dardenne brothers is really interesting. There was this market by the São Paulo International Film Festival, and their producer was there, and we pitched the project to her in like the first or the second treatment, and she showed to the brothers, and they loved the film, and they wanted to get in, so that's how we started collaborating.
Yeah. But I interrupted you.
Yes,
you were
sorry.
mid-thought about the documentary.
Yes.
And going into feature.
Yeah, so I really wanted the experience of Manas, because we are talking about a reality that it's so violent and horrible that it's hard to believe it happens, right? And I thought that for the audience to connect with this girl and to connect with this story and to believe in it, it has to feel real. You have to feel as if you're seeing life unfold in front of yourself, and that's what I really hoped the experience you would have watching the film. So that's what I really aim to achieve throughout the whole film, and you know, using the tools that we had.
And everything that makes this film good, you learned at UCSB, right?
A lot of it. Is there anyone from UCSB here today? Wow, amazing. Is there anyone from the faculty?
There's a couple waving.
Wow, okay, I want to talk to you later.
The ones that give you C's instead of A's are here.
I was a very good student.
I bet you were.
So yes, 106 classes taught me, you know, a lot of, mostly what I know about producing films. That's how I got to go back to Brazil and start making my films. Really,
Goodness.
yeah.
And you do this amazing, I can't believe this is your first, I mean, you've done documentaries, but this is your first fiction feature. It's a pretty remarkable film.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really, to be able to be here, to come back to Santa Barbara 23 years after I graduated,
Yeah.
with you at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival special screening where I premiered my first film. Really, it's one of the highlights of my life. Thank you so much.
Sweet. Well, thank
really,
you.
yes.
It's wonderful
Thank
to
you
have
for
you
this
back.
honor.
Yeah,
And
very sweet. Thank you, everybody.
thank you.